New Zealand has long been seen by many as an ultimate plan B, where they want residence and citizenship for times of chaos. And while New Zealand has dramatically reduced the amount of investment to live there, it's still an expensive program. And today I'm going to share with you 6 cheaper and potentially better residence permits than New Zealand's Golden Visa. New Zealand did just recently reduce the minimum investment to get a residence permit there by investment to about 2.9 million US dollars if you're willing to invest in riskier things. Now you can go and watch our video where we talked about New Zealand recently dramatically lowering the investment required to get a residence permit down to about 2.9 million dollars. A lot of people who aren't ready to move yet just want a plan B, and the idea of putting $2.9 million into riskier investments just isn't worth it for them. So we're going to go through some other countries. Some of these are more plan A. Some of these could be a good plan B. Plan A being you're ready to move right now. Plan B is let me keep the residence permit in my pocket. And so I think what New Zealand offers, let's set the criteria. It's a developed country. It's English speaking. It's geopolitically not entirely neutral, but I think people have this perception that it's more neutral than Australia and certainly than the US and the UK. I mean, they mind their own business. Nobody dislikes New Zealanders for the most part. It's a safe place. There's a lack of corruption, and it's geographically isolated. So, when the bombs start going off, you will be safe. The first one is Ireland, and the good news is, as we've recently talked about in yet another video, there is a path to live in Ireland without really making much investment at all. If you have what's called a critical skill, and you can start a company, and you can hire at least one local person, you can potentially get a residence permit and work your way towards what's called a Stamp 4 in as little as 2 years. Stamp 4 gives you a greater sense of permanence, and you can continue to work towards citizenship from there. Now, Ireland is in the European Union, so it comes with that. Maybe you like that, and you like the idea to be able to get citizenship in the future and live in any European Union country that you want, or maybe you don't like that. New Zealand obviously has its own union with Australia. People can move back and forth across the sea. Europe comes with a greater, bigger, more geopolitically weighty union that is the European Union, of course. And yet, Ireland is more neutral in that they're not in NATO. They have different opinions generally on things like Israel than, let's say, the US and the UK would. And so there are some differences living in Ireland. It is an island, and so it's not as far away as New Zealand, but they speak English. It's developed. There's lower levels of corruption than, let's say, in the United States. People do say, oh, it's getting less safe. And yet when you walk around Dublin, and certainly when you walk around areas, outside of the cities, it does seem relatively safe. As is in New Zealand, you do need to spend the majority of your time living in Ireland, but they do have a tax program for people coming in from overseas, a non-dom program where ostensibly you could pay as little as 0 tax or just pay tax on a reasonable salary. You might be able to pay 30 or 40,000 euros per year. That's a more tax-friendly way to get what arguably is a more useful passport for travel and having multiple countries to live in times of chaos than New Zealand's. With an Irish passport, you can basically live in about 30 countries. With a New Zealand passport, you can live in 2. And arguably for someone like me who travels a lot, it's a lot easier to travel from Ireland than it is from New Zealand. So if you like Europe and that's not your hang-up, that could be an alternative. And rather than investing $2.9 million, if you have something that the Irish government is looking for and work your way towards that passport on a very tax-friendly basis. Let's talk about somewhere entirely different, and that is Oman. We've been talking about this recently. We filmed an episode of Live Like a King in Oman, and we showed you luxury living there, how you can have a great life. I don't think there's a single piece of trash on the streets anywhere in Oman. People are incredibly calm and friendly and kind. And this is a country that's been a friend to everybody. I'm breaking the stereotype that all the countries in the Gulf, all the countries in the Middle East, it's a chaotic region. Sure, there's stuff happening. There's stuff happening, in the U.S.'s backyard. Are you not going to live in the U.S. because stuff is happening a few hundred miles away? Oman has been a friend to all over the years. That's a big sticking point for them. Go and watch the video. Hear what they have to say about it. And so to Oman, you can invest in government bonds, 500,000 Omani Rial. Their currency is more valuable, so that's about 1.3 million US dollars. And so for a little less than half the investment to live in New Zealand, you can invest in a much lower risk asset class. Because in New Zealand, you have to invest close to $6 million to invest in bonds. In Oman, you have to invest $1.3 million to invest in bonds. And as long as you hold those bonds, you can keep renewing it. Now, the issue here is you're never going to have citizenship. On the flip side, what I see the trend is in countries like Panama, in countries like Malaysia and Thailand, in countries in the Gulf, the GCC. I see most of those countries for the foreseeable future as we want more immigrants. We're going to make it easy. We're going to keep having multiple ways for people to be able to move here. And so as long as you're willing to keep some kind of an investment in Oman, I don't see for the foreseeable future them changing that and kicking you out of the country. And so while there is no path to citizenship, you can get that citizenship somewhere else. We help our clients get second citizenships in dozens of different countries by descent or by investment or by a number of things. To me, the idea of tranquility and order and all that kind of stuff in New Zealand, you might not expect it in this region, but I can tell you, it is in Oman. Incredibly tranquil and peaceful. Yeah, you have Yemen next door. Again, go and watch Living a King in Oman and hear what people had to say that never really came over to our borders. So Oman is another option. You want to be geographically isolated. We've talked about it in our video on how to escape a world war. Mauritius, that's pretty far away. And yet you are a bit closer to some areas that I think have a lot of opportunity. I've been telling you a lot about Africa and the opportunities in Africa. We're going to have numerous speakers at Nomad Capitalist Live this year talking about their on-the-ground experiences investing in Africa, the final frontier, a place that is geopolitically different. I think having an African residence permit, an African citizenship, as the African Union expands and kind of harmonizing all the countries on the continent, I think that could be a good move, let's say in the next 10 to 20 years. And Mauritius is perhaps the lowest baggage country. It is one of the only two passports in Africa that has access to the European Union. And you want to talk about geopolitical and neutrality? It still is, one of only about 6 countries in the world where its citizens can go to the UK, to Europe, to Russia, and to China. As they say, we got along with everybody. $350,000 you can invest in a villa, and so you can buy a property. A lot of countries don't allow you to buy residential real estate anymore. In Mauritius, you can do that. It is a beautiful place. I kind of like the southwest part of Mauritius myself, and you kind of go up north up that west coast. I mean, that's kind of the area that the kind of southwest and west coast is where I would be. You can get a residence permit. It is not a zero tax country, but it's a tax-friendly country. A lot of companies in India, for example, will use Mauritius companies as part of their structure. Now, citizenship is a bit more nebulous there. Ostensibly, you can apply after 2 years. There's a discussion of whether they grant it. But certainly if you go and spend a lot of your time there and you integrate yourself, I think there's some chance you could get that citizenship. So if we're just looking at this, these are all more affordable than making an investment in New Zealand. Is Mauritius as developed? No. I look at Mauritius kind of as the Malaysia of the Indian Ocean, the Malaysia of Africa. I've lived in Kuala Lumpur part-time for about 11 years. I've talked a lot about Malaysia. We host our event, Nomad Capitalist Live, in Malaysia. And it's pretty developed in a place like Kuala Lumpur. And people are kind, and it's multicultural. And I kind of see Mauritius as being the same thing. Now, let's go through 2 countries in the Americas. Uruguay, we've talked a lot about this. Just got the reports. Less corrupt than Canada and Japan. Uruguay, according to a recent study. I've told people from Canada, you want a place to go that's on a similar time zone to yours? You don't want to go as far away as New Zealand or Mauritius as Oman. Hey, that's going to be hard to run your business. Uruguay. It offers some of the same tranquility. I've at times called it boring. And listen, that could be a good thing, quite frankly. Geopolitically, geographically, yeah, it's kind of boring. There's not a lot of chaos happening down there. I mean, it's just pretty calm, pretty simple. You know what? A lot of people right now would like boring in their life. But I've told Canadians, and I'll tell Americans and anybody else, this is a place that offers a lot of the things that you like about a place like Canada, and yet it's pretty much on par, just below, or even now just above Canada in rankings like development, corruption, things like that. So this is one of those programs where it's a little bit nebulous. If you're single, about $1,500 a month in income works. If you're a family, $3,000 a month in income works. It's often nice just to juice it up a little bit, put a little bit more in there. So maybe if you're single, can you show you make $3,000 a month from some source? That gets you in. And so this is not a place where you have to invest at all. You just have to show them, as we've told you for years, Latin American countries are largely about show us that you make money. Asian countries want to see wealth. English-speaking countries generally want you to invest serious amounts of wealth in the country. Ireland's kind of one of the big exceptions. You don't have to make big investments. But Latin American countries, hey, just show us you have money coming in. We're very pro-immigrant. They are countries of immigrants as well. And so a couple grand a month in income, and you can get into Uruguay. You can get tax residence there. We've talked about that in one of our most watched videos of all time. Uruguay has a multi-year 0% tax regime on all your foreign income, or you can sign up and pay 7% for life. You can also, within 3 to 5 years, get a passport. And so Uruguay, neutral. Who doesn't like the Uruguayans? I mean, who's going to say, yeah, we're tired of these Uruguayans coming and bringing their businesses here? A place that is geographically isolated, and yet, unlike New Zealand, if you want to go to Buenos Aires, for example, we're filming Live Like a King in Buenos Aires. You want to go and have great wine. You want to go and have great food. You can do that in Uruguay as well. They have both of those. But if you want to go to a little bit bigger city, you go to Buenos Aires. You go to the wine region of Mendoza. You want to go further afield. I have a home in Bogota, Colombia. I like that. There's a little bit more grit, not as much as people think. Hey, it's not that 5 hours from Montevideo to Bogota. There's so many places to go in the Americas. For me, the frustration about New Zealand is, where are you going? Right? There's really not that many places to go that are nearby. If you live in New Zealand and you're coming to Nomad Capitalist Live in Kuala Lumpur, it's about an 11-hour flight. By the way, we help people leave New Zealand too. You can come to Nomad Capitalist Live. But Uruguay is an option. Not so far away, Chile. It's been a place a lot of people have been talking about. They took a leftward turn. Looks like they're going to take a turn back to the right. As is life in Latin America. But Chile has not as good of a tax deal as Uruguay, but you can still get a multi-year tax deal. Parts of Santiago, to me, I almost felt like I was in Vancouver. Maybe other people feel that, maybe they don't. But there certainly is a level of development in Chile. Again, they have a tax incentive for the first couple of years. If you spend 5 years there, you can get a passport, one of the best passports in the world. And then there was talk of should Chileans be able to continue coming to the United States because they had a few gangs robbing houses. But Chileans are very welcome all around the world. It is a passport on par with New Zealand in terms of where you can travel, but it also offers you special privileges within pretty much all of South America. If you want to go to those other countries, it will be easier for you. Again, New Zealand and Australia, it's easier to move between those two if you're a citizen. But some of these other countries offer benefits within a larger region. I think that's something worth considering. Now, you have to live in Chile for part of the time to get your citizenship, but you can pretty easily get a permanent residence permit. And again, you're simply going to show income to move there. So several $1,000s a month, you can move into Chile. You have a bit more going on, you have a bit more ability to travel. One other place that people like in Central America is Costa Rica. They've got a territorial tax system. So if you're looking for a place where you can move and reduce your taxes and you're safer, now Costa Rica certainly, geographically it's not as isolated as Uruguay or Mauritius or Chile. It is in Central America. Nicaragua is certainly a developing place. It's the only place in the world I've had a gun in my face, next door in Nicaragua. But certainly that doesn't really spill over to Costa Rica. They have the eco-friendly vibe. They have the welcoming vibe. They have the more, one of the most developed countries in that part of the world. And so if you can show them, again, income, or if you can just take 2 years of income, $60,000, and throw it in the bank, you can live there and you can work towards citizenship. I do think a New Zealand or an Ireland are probably going to be much more by the book in terms of granting citizenship, where some of these other countries that offer it will be perhaps more discretionary. Certainly in South America in particular, there's more of a kind of a civil law vibe to how citizenship is granted rather than directly by the book in some cases. Maybe Chile a little bit less of that. But Costa Rica could be an option for someone who wants, a country that, what military? Who are they bothering? They're minding their own business. Everybody respects them. And so in these Latin American countries, you can get in by just showing income. And so if you're looking at New Zealand, you're saying, I want to have a place to go, but millions of dollars to invest. I think, quite frankly, you could go and you could put less money in and you could get a couple of these. And so you could play as a plan A, which means I'm moving to this country. You could do as I do, and you could get a couple of these and then move to both of those countries. Maybe you spend part of your year in Costa Rica and you get the tax residence there, or Uruguay and get the tax residence there. Now you've got a great tax deal for wherever you live, but maybe you also go and spend some time in Mauritius Or maybe you live in Ireland and you get their tax deal and you qualify for citizenship, but you also have the Costa Rica and you spend your winters in Costa Rica. I mean, you could pair these together any way you want, 1, 2, 3 of them, and you could actually move somewhere else, dramatically lower your taxes, work towards a citizenship somewhere, and from there, see where it goes. I mean, once you're a citizen of a country, you don't even have to live there, but you could always go back in times of chaos. What you could also do is simply get the residence permit and not live there. If you invest in Oman, for example, you don't have to live there to keep the residence permit, but at any time you can change your mind. And so what I want you to have is optionality. Again, rather than investing millions of dollars in New Zealand, listen, we'll be happy to help you with New Zealand if you want. You go to nomadcapitalist.com/apply. We can do that for you. But I just happen to think, unless you're totally convinced that New Zealand is the place for you based on evidence that you have, not a romantic feeling, but evidence, perhaps it's better to dip your toe in and have more options at a lower price point, because I've seen clients, when it comes time to move the $2.9 or $5.8 million, sometimes they get cold feet. Why don't we perhaps predict that, maybe that's a bigger investment that you want to make, and just say, hey, let's get a couple of these backups. And sure, Ireland gives me flexibility that I can get a passport, I can move around different places, and I have to travel. And if I don't like my country's passport anymore, I can get the Irish one. Oman gives me, kind people and low taxes and everything functions, and it's just, an oasis of calm. Latin America gives me something else. Why not put these together and be able to move between them rather than going all in on the same place that, tech bros from Silicon Valley do? Their plan shouldn't be your plan. My plan shouldn't be your plan. So if you want to move to New Zealand, that's fine. We help you create a bespoke and holistic plan. The name of the game is optionality. The name of the game is the world's becoming multipolar. There will be more black swan events. You don't just want one place to go. My parents talked in the 90s about moving to New Zealand. That was going to be from the US to New Zealand. Get rid of that one, replace it with this one. You don't have to do that anymore. We can help you figure out how to do that. We can help you figure out which options are the best. The options that someone might sell you to move to some of these might not be the options for you. One thing I've seen is if there's a golden visa with a bank deposit or a bond option, a lot of people don't do it because the people selling the golden visa make all their money from commissions by you buying real estate, for example, or you investing in something that they want you to invest in. At Nomad Capitalist, you pay us a fee. We have no dog in the fight, and we recommend what's best for you. We look at what you want to accomplish, and we work backwards from there. Those are places that I think are worth your consideration before you decide to move to New Zealand.